beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good karma is a must. Still my shooter in the cut. I was stuck inside a rut. Played the game, made bank, moved G. Anything to get a buck. You won't find me in the club. I'm in the lab trying to sharpen up the sword. Swinging blades at these scrubs. Bitches flock like bugs to the light. Yeah, right. Treat my hoes like these raps. I don't really got a type. Off top, bullshitting. All I needed was a mic. Yeah. Hey, pass the rock, it's all butter. Pack your bags and take flight. Don't worry, it's all covered. Hey, live your life while you can. Our days are all numbered. Rain could cause thunder, but the sun comes after, clearing up the disaster.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back, I'm focused on what's in front of me. Everybody days a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Like, yeah.
Take it from me, I got some places I should take you to see. You know it's easy when you ride with a G. Light speed, moving fast through the city, trying to find me some peace. I finally lived to be the guy that I was dying to be. Still I got some trust issues, people lie through their teeth. The more I grew, the more they hide in the crease. Squad building, weak members get released. If we trying to compete, starting pitchers need relief. Bro, we building a team, everybody got a niche. I've been known to play mine to a T, but it's time for me to lead. Picking dirt right out the cleats. Steep path, roadblocks in the streets, trying to knock me off my feet, cause the devil never sleeps. So I don't sleep too, and trying to breach safes that I didn't have the keys to. We all been victims of trauma we ain't agreed to, but the sun comes after, starting up a new chapter.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back, I'm focused on what's in front of me. Everybody days a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Yeah. Isn't it lovely?
Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Hello, I'm Himothy. I got the recipe. I got the flow. I got the remedy. I know they do. I know they envy me. Feet on the floor. What they gon' say now? We came along from last place, bottom to top of the fast pace. Out of the surf, I get touchdown. I take a loss, get it back 8. I'm in the gym putting numbers up. You're never there, you got bad traits. Never excuses or cover ups. Learn from the losses and bad breaks. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Who said I wasn't him? Who said it? All this talk about who's on top and who's not. Miss me with the gossip. Check the score. Yeah. See me coming off the screen. Know I gave myself the green light. Catch a shoe from the 3. If I'm not the one, it doesn't seem right. I need like 2, 4, 5, 6 in them rings. I'm talking back to back to back like 23. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. feelings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good karma is a must. Still my shooter in the cut. I was stuck inside a rut. Played the game, made bank, move G. Anything to get a buck. You won't find me in the club. I'm in the lab trying to sharpen up the sword. Swinging blades at these scrubs. Bitches flock like bugs to the light. Yeah, right. Treat my hoes like these raps. I don't really got a type. Off top, bullshitting. All I needed was a mic. Yeah. Hey, pass the rock, it's all butter. Pack your bags and take flight. Don't worry, it's all covered. Hey, live your life while you can. Our days are all numbered. Rain could cause thunder, but the sun comes after, clearing up the disaster.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back, I'm focused on what's in front of me. Everybody day's a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Yeah.
So take it from me, I got some places I should take you to see. You know it's easy when you ride with a G. Light speed, moving fast through the city, trying to find me some peace. I finally lived to be the guy that I was dying to be. Still I got some trust issues, people lie through their teeth. The more I grew, the more they hide in the crease. Squad building, weak members get released. If we trying to compete, starting pitchers need relief. Bro, we building a team, everybody got a niche. I've been known to play mine to a T, but it's time for me to lead. Picking dirt right out the cleats. Steep path, roadblocks in the streets, trying to knock me off my feet, cause the devil never sleeps. So I don't sleep too, and trying to breach safes that I didn't have the keys to. We all been victims of trauma we ain't agreed to, but the sun comes after, starting up a new chapter.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back, I'm focused on what's in front of me. Everybody day's a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Yeah. Isn't it lovely?
light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Hello, I'm Himothy. I got the recipe. I got the flow. I got the remedy. I know they do. I know they envy me. Feet on the floor. What they gon' say now? We came along from last place, bottom to top of the fast pace. Out of this surf, I get touchdown. I take a loss, get it back 8. I'm in the gym putting numbers up. You're never there, you got bad traits. Never excuses or cover ups. Learn from the losses and bad breaks. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Who said I wasn't him? Who said it? All this talk about who's on top and who's not. Miss me with the gossip. Check the score. Yeah. See me coming off the screen. Know I gave myself the green light. Catch a shoe from the 3. If I'm not the one, it doesn't seem right. I need like 2, 4, 5, 6 of them rings. I'm talking back to back to back like 23. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good karma is a must. Still my shooter in the cut. I was stuck inside a rut. Played the game, made bank, move G. Anything to get a buck. You won't find me in the club. I'm in the lab trying to sharpen up the sword. Swinging blades at these scrubs. Bitches flock like bugs to the light. Yeah, right. Treat my hoes like these raps. I don't really got a type. Off top, bullshitting. All I needed was a mic. Yeah. Hey, pass the rock, it's all butter. Pack your bags and take flight. Don't worry, it's all covered. Hey, live your life while you can. Our days are all numbered. Rain could cause thunder, but the sun comes after, clearing up the disaster.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back, I'm focused on what's in front of me. Everybody days a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Like, yeah.
So take it from me, I got some places I should take you to see. You know it's easy when you ride with a G. Light speed, moving fast through the city, trying to find me some peace. I finally lived to be the guy that I was dying to be. Still I got some trust issues, people lie through their teeth. The more I grew, the more they hide in the crease. Squad building, weak members get released. If we trying to compete, starting pitchers need relief. Bro, we building a team, everybody got a niche. I've been known to play mine to a T, but it's time for me to lead. Picking dirt right out the cleats. Steep path, roadblocks in the streets, trying to knock me off my feet, cause the devil never sleeps. So I don't sleep too, and trying to breach safes that I didn't have the keys to. We all been victims of trauma we ain't agreed to, but the sun comes after, starting up a new chapter.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back, I'm focused on what's in front of me. Everybody days a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Like, yeah. Isn't it lovely?
let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Hello, I'm Himothy. I got the recipe. I got the flow. I got the remedy. I know they do. I know they envy me. Feet on the floor. What they gon' say now? We came alone from last place, bottom to top of the fast pace. Out of this surf, I get touchdown. I take a loss, get it back 8. I'm in the gym putting numbers up. You're never there, you got bad traits. Never excuses or cover ups. Lost from the losses and bad breaks. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it. I just win, 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 win. I'm on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Who said I wasn't him? Who said it? All this talk about who's on top and who's...
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
All good, thanks. How are you? Hey.
Good to see you guys. Nice mascot, Fiddy. It looks good back there.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Yes.
How's it going?
Good morning, good night, wherever you guys are. And good morning to those that weren't liquidated overnight. Some of us on the East Coast, probably some of them woke up to that red liquidation. Your account's been liquidated. But good morning to everybody. I'll do a quick intro of myself, and then I'll let these two guys give an intro. I'm a research analyst at Delphi right now. My background's in TradFi, where I focus on public markets and building private fund to funds internally for high net worth individuals. And then after a few years of that, I moved full-time crypto, where I worked at a liquid venture fund for a bit, and then shortly joined the crack team at Delphi, and been studying all things Perp Dexes and meeting some of the smartest founders in the space, Fiddy and Ruslan included in that. And now I'll let Anand, Fiddy, I'll let you give an intro, and then we'll pass it on to Ruslan for an intro.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks guys for joining. I appreciate you guys taking the time. My name's Anand, or Fiddy. That's Fiddy Bips is how people know me online. Yeah, I'm co-founder, CEO of Paradex and Paradigm. Yeah, been in the space since 2019. So yeah, short. I'm sure most people already know who I am. So no need to get into the details.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks for inviting me over for this exciting discussion. Right. As for myself, my name is Ruslan. I'm the founder and CEO of Extended. Right. With Extended, essentially, we're building a fully fledged self-custody exchange. Before that, I was the head of crypto operations at Revolve, essentially responsible for the P&L of their crypto department. Yeah, and that's very briefly about myself.
Yeah, I think most people know who you guys are, so we'll jump straight into it. Today's a great time for this conversation. For those of you who still have a perp account that hasn't been liquidated, CEXs have taken a big hit in trust the last year, really, with Binance's struggles on 1010, the MEXC white whale account fiasco. So traders are like migrating on chain. It is happening, and I think if we were in a full-fledged bull market, I think the numbers would be multiples of what they are today. And at the same time, we've never seen more perp dexes coming to market, and with great founders, with great, with decent liquidity and all these great incentives. Hyperliquid still is the clear winner here, the volume leader, but dozens of new entrants coming online every day with different visions, different go-to-markets, and things like that. So today's debate is a big one. We've got zero fees versus fees, fee-based models versus zero fee models. Can 0% fees actually create a good business? We've seen Robinhood do it, but there's been pushback that most of their revenues come from PFOF on options and not actually equities and those things. So I think this is a great time to dive into this debate. And so I think now is a great time to maybe pass it to Fiddy. You guys are building the zero fee Perp Dex, Paradex, and so why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how you think about zero fees?
Yeah, sure. I think you summarized it well in saying that despite this being, this is pretty competitive space. I think everybody understands that very clearly. But you're not just competing with other decentralized exchanges. You're also competing with centralized exchanges, right? And to be honest, I think at least from my perspective, I've always thought that the real enemy here is CeFi, right? It isn't really other decentralized exchanges, hyperliquid, lighter, extended included. Why? Because it's just the pie is so small right now, right? More growth for the entire DEX space is going to come from CeFi to DeFi migration, rather than us trying to steal each other's slice and basically try to expand our share of the pie, right? Which is very small. So if you agree with that high level framing, then the enemy really here is Binance, right? And then the one way the last frontier that you can really compete with the centralized exchanges is really fees. The last kind of like, let's call it like easy way you can compete with the centralized exchanges is really the fees, right? Because everything else, like, do we have 200 million customers? No. Do we have 50 different products? No. Do we have 10 years to bootstrap to get there? No. So then what is the one thing which is the Achilles heel that you can kind of attack them on, by virtue of which, by doing so, you effectively win most of most of their customers, right? And so trying to compete against CEXs using the CEX playbook, I think is, it's a strategy. I don't think it is the right strategy, right? And in my mind, I think it's quite suboptimal, especially given the time constraint that we have. That like, hey, we don't have all the time in the world to go. I don't have 5-10 years to go compete with these guys head to head. I need to do this in the next month, right? So the way I mean, that's kind of like the high level in that. There's other reasons
Yeah.
why I think zero fees
And
is.
I think maybe to push back on a little bit, it's like you talked about competing, like you're competing with Binance, not necessarily extended, hyperliquid, and these others. You're competing with Binance. So, and if zero fees work, why hasn't Binance done it yet? They've got infinite users, they have the volume, they've got the market makers, they have the incentive
But they
budget.
don't need to, right? Like that, they
don't
don't
need
need
to?
to. They don't need. I mean, if you're first move in the market and you can charge 5 bips or something, right? Why give up that 5 bips unless somebody forces you to, right? And so, the analogy in TradFi is that when Robinhood came around, right? I think at that time I heard this podcast. I got this stat from a podcast I listened to, which was, I think it was something to the effect that Charles Schwab or TD Ameritrade, the brokerages at that time, the commission brokerages, they were charging. I think they made about $11 per transaction on every transaction. $10 of that transaction came from transaction fees, and $1 came from PFOF, because they still did the PFOF. It's just that it was such a small portion of their revenue. And then when Robinhood came around, Robinhood said, we're not charging the $10 anymore. We're just charging the $1, right? And that kind of forced all the commission brokerages to basically go zero commission, for the same reason. So the answer to your question is, Binance will not go there unless they are forced to go there. And we see this as a disruptive business model that will force the commission exchanges to go zero fees.
Okay, I think that's great for me. And I'll pass it to you, Ruslan. It looked like you were about to jump in anyways.
Yeah, look, thanks for the perspective. And there are a couple of things I do agree on and a couple of things I disagree on, right? So on the things I agree on, right, is that obviously the existing perp dex market is still relatively small, right? And essentially we are all serving, let's say, 30 to 50,000 users, right, who are actively using perp dexes. And obviously there are millions of users out there who we still need to convert to perp dexes, and not only to perps, but to all the other products being offered on chain, either within a single product, like that's the vision we're building with Extended, or with multiple products, right? That part I definitely agree with, right? The second part, which I don't really agree with, right, is I don't think that zero fees will be a sufficient enabler to convert those users, right? I can talk to my past experience at Revolut, right, where essentially we had more than 10 million crypto users, over 1 million of monthly active users, right? And the fees that Revolut charge were at least 10 times higher than the fees you would get with Binance, Coinbase, and the other exchanges, right? And what we saw is that from the pure retail standpoint, the users are price insensitive, right? Yes, obviously, if you start charging super crazy fees, like I know 10% of the trade value, right, they would start mentioning it. But as long as the fees are something which doesn't really bother them, and they cannot really like they cannot really interpret it as that someone has charged them a significant amount of funds in the absolute terms, right? They don't really care about the fees, right? Hence, I believe that in the longer run, right, the strategy to onboard retail and to onboard users who are not currently using Perp Dexes is not about the fees, right? It's mainly about the product quality, the product breadth, because those users, like, they want a very simple way to be onboarded into an exchange, right? And they want a very simple way to do off ramp, right? To have all the products, all the crypto products they want to use in a single place, right? Hence, my take on that is that I agree that we should focus on competing with CeFi exchanges, right? We should focus on growing the overall size of the pie, right? But I do think that the strategy to grow that is different than offering zero fees, right? That I just judge based on the experience which I saw at Revolut, where it really worked very well, right? And the users were price insensitive, right? That's one. The second thing is, look, in the longer run, I think all of us are trying to build sustainable businesses, right? And by sustainable businesses, effectively, I think we've made the choice, right, to build that business around the token and the token economics, right? And obviously, for the successful business, right, you need the revenue streams to go to that token, right? Essentially, the choice to go with zero fees to an extent diminishes the opportunities, right, and the revenue streams that you can effectively give back to the users in the longer run, right? And you can give them back to the users, right, through any sort of rev sharing mechanism you want to introduce, right? Because essentially, in the nutshell, right, with the zero fees, one, you are not only losing the revenue stream from the taker volume, right, but you're also losing an opportunity to incentivize makers to quote tighter because you don't have the maker rebates, right? Makers, I don't think we expect them to change their business model, to change their expectations of the profitability, et cetera, right? So the only way you give them to effectively make back the returns which they're expecting to make is to quote wider, right? And hence, I don't think the debate is even about the fees itself. I think what matters is the overall cost of execution, right? And then the question is whether the overall cost of execution is higher or lower, right, with the zero fee model. And obviously that matters a lot, right, for all the existing crypto native users who are currently using the Perp Dexes, because they all are like rational individuals and are optimizing for the cost of execution, right? And the key question here boils down to whether you provide a better cost of execution or with zero fees or without zero fees, right? Like I would argue from my standpoint that the overall cost of execution with reasonable fees, I'm not talking about super crazy fees, right, can be actually lower than in the zero fees model, right? I guess that's like a very long debate with a lot of inputs and a lot of behavioral things, how people quote, how people trade. But at the same time, again, back to the argument you made on competing with CeFi, right? I don't think that zero fees matter in that regard. I think there are other things on which we need to focus to get to the next level, essentially.
So you're saying effective cost matters a lot more than zero fees. Like what is your total cost?
I mean, effective
of
cost
trade?
matters for the existing Perp Dex users, right? But it doesn't really matter for the retail users, right? Or it matters much less than you think about.
So I
Yeah,
guess
because
I kind of go ahead. Sorry, Flip. I'll finish.
No, I'll wrap that up and then I'll let you jump in. It's like it's kind of the point where when memes going wild is like users don't care about paying 2% in and out. They just care about getting the 100x. And similar with perps, they're hoping for 100, 200% increase. They don't care if they pay a bit. And I'll let you jump in now, Anand.
Yeah, I think so. I think you mentioned that like retail. I mean, I've heard this argument before that like retail is insensitive to fees, and I think that's kind of the crux of the difference here. It's just like who is your customer, right? Like if you're saying that your customer is somebody that trades infrequently, is small size, and is still retail, but is trading infrequently on small size, then sure, then maybe you're right? But those are not the users I'm trying to go after, right? Those are not the users, Paradex is trying to go after. And I don't think any exchange should, is trying to go after. Because if you think about it, 80% of exchange volumes come from 20% of the large kind of like retail traders that are trading, right? And these are like discretionary long short guys that are trading huge size, trading frequently, right? For those guys, fees does matter. If I can tell you that, like, hey, I can save you, if you've traded 10 billion a year on Binance or Hyperliquid or whatever, and your fee burden is, let's say, a couple $1 million, right? And I come to you and say, oh, by the way, you can now use that fees to basically trade again. Like, you obviously you're going to be like, yeah, that makes sense. If I can give you the same spread and I can give you zero fees, you're going to stay here. So, like, for the power user, which is basically the lifeblood of any exchange, right? For those guys, fees do matter. I do agree that for the super long tail of users, it probably does not matter as much. They're not as fee sensitive as other people. But if you're trying to basically get like the power user that's going to drive 80% of your volume, for those guys, fees do matter, right? There's a second part to this argument as well, right? This power user also tends to be effectively trading by hand, or they're trading manually, right? If you're trading manually, you should pay lower fees, right? Because you're not as toxic as all the sophisticated guys that are hitting the order book and basically driving spreads wider. So if you are trading via hand, you're slow, you're basically on a small enough sort of time frame, if you're non-toxic, you should pay lower fees, right? So if you go to these guys and you say, look, you are great flow, you are the type of flow that makes this exchange work, right? On top of that, you're spending 5 million a year in fees. So not only I'm saying you should pay lower fees, but you're paying zero fees here. Then that's a powerful argument for these people, right? And so I think if you're trying to convert that high value user, I think for those guys it really does matter. For the longer tail, I agree, it does not matter as much. And then the third part, which I think I also disagree with, is just because it is convenient for us, the business model is convenient for us in the sense that, hey, if we charge fees, then we can use that to incent makers, right? And if we now give away these fees, we can't incent makers anymore. I don't think that argument holds like water, because it's pretty simple. Like, the makers will go to where the flow is, right? The business model, like, you can always change the business model to find a way to incent them in some other way. But the at the end of the at the end of the road, the main thing is, are you able to get good flow on the exchange? Because once you do, then makers are going to be here, right? Whether there's a rebate or not.
Yeah, look, thanks. I think I agree with you that the flow is the thing that matters the most, right? However, I do think that you are underestimating the power of retail users.
No,
Right?
I'm sorry. I'm not underestimating the power of retail users. All right, I'm saying they're valuable. They're super valuable. But I'm specifically talking about the 20% of users that drive 80% of the flow, right? In terms of volume, right? Not in terms of number, right? In terms of volume. Now, if that percentage shifts, then sure, then I would be more open to this other idea that you're pushing.
Yes, but the point is that within retail, you also have the distribution, right? So you do have retail power users, right? Who just don't bother about the fees. What they bother about is convenience, right? They bother about security, they bother about accessibility of the product and all the other things, right?
Yeah,
And
but a zero fee exchange and a not zero fee exchange have all of those things you're saying, right? The only difference is one exchange is saying zero spread, zero fees, and all of these other things. Left and right side have both things equal. Product. I mean, we're making the assumption that all Perp Dexes will move to the same product suite. It'll have the same security, at least, right? Or maybe there's slight differences here and there. But on average, they're going to basically try to offer the same products, right? So if you have one exchange that gives you this exact same product suite, the exact same security, the exact same spreads, and you compare that to another exchange that gives the exact same thing but zero fees, why would anybody choose a product that you have to pay for it when the other product is offering the exact same thing but charging no fees?
I mean, that will boil down to the quality of the distribution in the end, right? And it matters as much as the quality of the product, right? So in the end, what matters is whether you're able to reach those users, right? And how do you position your value proposition, right?
Yeah, but not,
It's fun.
but then you're kind of like shifting. Okay, so then you're saying that, you know, whether you charge fees or not is really immaterial, because you're saying the product, if you make the product really good, right? But the product at the end of the day, I mean, Perp Dexes are commodities at the end of the day, right? I mean, I don't mean to trivialize our business here, but like an exchange is a commodity. It's very easy for anybody. I mean, if it weren't, there wouldn't be 1,000 Perp Dexes or 1,000 exchanges out there, right?
But there are no thousand Perp Dexes, and there are no 1,000 exchanges, right? And
I
in
mean,
the end,
there's at least 300.
I mean, but we are not talking about the guys who don't have any volume, and we're not talking about the guys who haven't been able to attract any users, right? But in the end, if you are saying, okay, you will attract all the best users, right, and then you will be making 0 fees on them, right? Like, how does the business model work? Let's assume that you have.
No, hold on. You're
Let's
not
assume
making zero fees. Doesn't mean the exchange makes zero revenue, right? You're still making revenue by charging the makers. Plus, there's other avenues for you to make money. There's think about what Robinhood did in TradFi, right? They made
what
money.
did they do? They made money on the interest rate. They made money on the spread
Option.
that they charge on crypto. They made money on the options, right? But effectively, in that example of the Robinhood model, as well as with Revolut, right, the majority of the fees come, one, from their ability to charge the interest rate on the deposits, right? The second revenue stream, at least in crypto, right, is the spread that they charge. And there you have a very different business model and a very different product, because the users, they never see an order book. They just see a price at which their order will be executed, right? So they don't really see like all the abundance of metrics, the order book, right? The spread. They don't see anything. What they care about is that they can do a trade in one click. And essentially, those exchanges and those products, they charge them on the spread. Now, you are saying that, okay, we'll have a fully fledged exchange, right, with 0 fees, with 0 spread, right, where effectively the user will get the best cost of 0 cost of execution, right? Then where does the money come from, right? If the user doesn't pay anything, neither in spread nor in the fees, right? Where does the revenue model?
Because the maker is paying on the other side. You're charging the maker side,
Okay,
right?
if the maker is paying if the maker is paying, right? Like, let's say he's paying, I don't know, whatever, 2 bips, right? Or how much you want the makers to pay, right? Like, how do they offer 0 spread? How do they cover their cost of execution, their cost of hedging, their operational expenses?
How do they
do
cover it?
that?
Because of technological innovation, right? Because in our model, the way we are able to reduce their costs of, especially the negative costs of, toxicity, is by basically innovation. In our case, RPI, right? Makers are able to show super tight spreads and effectively better prices because they have lesser costs of effectively, not toxic flow that comes from them.
I mean, let's go into the specifics here, right?
No, well, hold on.
What
So
do you want the makers to
I
pay?
want to, before we go into specifics, and I'll go there.
Okay.
The one point you mentioned, which I disagree with, is in Robinhood's case, you're saying users. It doesn't matter to the users. The spread doesn't. All this stuff that we're doing, the spread. So on the one hand, you're saying the cost of execution matters, but then on the other hand, you just said that, like, in Robinhood, those users don't really see the spread, etc. So it works in that world, but in our world, it doesn't work. So I don't really understand. I mean, that's kind of like you're playing both sides to the argument here, right? So, like, which is it? Because
I think what you underestimate is that Revolut and Robinhood are fundamentally very different products to what Extended, Paradex,
I'm not saying
Binance, and the others are building. Right?
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that they are exactly the same products, right? And in fact, our type of product, right, which is everything disclosed, right? I mean, on a Perp Dex, I mean, your exchange, our exchange, you can see spread, you can see cost of execution, you can see slippage. And so, okay, so if that is your argument, then the type of user that is drawn to that type of execution is that 20% of the distribution, not the long tail that doesn't care about all these things, right? And so,
Like
and those
you're,
are the
but
users we're going after.
it depends on how do you see taking your product, right? Because on the one hand, you are saying, okay, look, we need to onboard much more new users, millions and millions of users who are trading on Revolut's, Robinhood's,
No,
Binance's, and
you
et
don't
cetera,
need
et
to,
cetera, right?
you don't, I mean, for the distribution of any gambling marketplace, casinos included, most of their revenue and flow comes from the top, 20, 30%. Those are the users you
That's
want to go after.
I think that's actually a misconception, right? Because
I mean,
essentially,
you see this
okay,
in the
you are
data, right? You
making
see this in
no, but
hyperliquid data. You see this in our data.
it's very different. It's very different, right? Like essentially, like what we are going to go after in the long run, right? Is we want to go after the retail users who are currently using, let's say, Binance mobile application, Revolut, Robinhood, etc., etc. With those users, you need a slightly different type of the product, which can still be built on all the underlying tech that you're offering, right? Those users, they will drive much less volume, but those users are completely price insensitive, right? And with those users, even with the smaller, because volume doesn't matter in the end. You can have a quadrillion of traded volume. If you are not making any money on that, right? No one cares, right? What you need is you need the flow on which you're able to make money, right? To make money as a business and then essentially to redistribute it to the future token economics, right? With the model where you're able to go after retail, who doesn't drive the similar amount of volume, right? You can make much more money in the longer run, right? Versus going after, let's say, 5% of the power users who give you billions and billions in volume. If you're not making any money on that volume, then that
But
volume is basically pointless.
just because you can't make money with a business model doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. If you can acquire users and then basically use that as a user acquisition strategy and then sell those users something else, which is exactly
But what would you sell?
other products that come much later. You have options, you have because the Perp Dexes can be basically, they're banks, they're custodians, they're brokerages, they're clearinghouses, they're everything combined. Like the universe of products that we are able to offer to users is effectively infinite.
So
So
you're essentially saying that you're not planning to make money on the perps, you're planning to make money on something else.
initially, yeah, because that's exactly what I said. If I want to go after Binance users right now, then I need to find a way to first get all their users and then find a way. And once I do that, then effectively that flow is ours.
But then
right?
So
does it also mean
so the
that
zero
as
fees are
long as,
sorry, go ahead, Ruslan.
no, I just want to ask whether does it mean that as long as you don't have any products besides perps, that your business model doesn't generate any revenue, right?
The business
And
model
hence
still generates
doesn't
revenue.
work.
The business model still generates revenue. We still make money on perps. We just don't make as much money on perps. And so, and the flip side of that argument is you're saying that by virtue of having this business model, you're effectively saying I don't need to add any more products. But we also know that users want more products. So which side is true, right? On the one hand, you're
I mean,
saying
what I'm saying is that basically, look, our business model is sustainable with the existing product. The way I hear you, and I might be hearing it wrong, but the business model that you currently have is unsustainable and you need to add more products to make it sustainable.
I think he's just saying. I think Anand is really trying to say that the zero fees is kind of the way to go get the users, and then you're still profitable, but you're less profitable than an extended or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean,
on a per dollar transaction.
do you want to remain with an exchange that has a sustainable business model but no users?
But that's the point. You still can have users. Right?
No,
You
but
still can have
if
users
all
and you
those
still can
users,
acquire users.
but if all those users come to an exchange that gives you the same product and zero fees, then those users are going to move there. So what are you going to do with the business model then?
But we already see that it's not the case, right? If that was the case, then the only two exchanges which would have had any volume would have been Lighter and Paradex, right?
But
In
this
reality, we
is
see that
the
this is not
start
the
of
case.
what disruption looks like, right? When Robinhood came around, it still took, I don't know, 5-6 years for the business model to fully disrupt the existing business model, right? Which is fees. So, I mean, it's kind of like saying at the start of a journey, you're looking at the data and you're saying, oh, but it's not really happened yet.
But you told that you don't have those 6 years in the beginning, right? You want to onboard new users within the matter of months, and you want to make your business model sustainable within a matter of months.
We've adopted zero fees as of 2 months ago. So yes, it's still early, right? It's going to take us maybe another year to get there. But like my point is like you can have, just because a business model is sustainable doesn't mean it is going to work, right? It's convenient for us as exchange owners. I get that, right? I would also love to not have to deal with, having to compete this way. But the unfortunate reality is if we don't, basically it's like now the cat is out of the bag. Like if we don't, then somebody else is going to come and steal our lunch. And so you and I will be left with a business model that is sustainable, but no users. And like, then we're both shit out of luck.
That part I disagree with you, right? Like, I think one, essentially, in the nutshell, what you're saying, okay, Perps with zero fees is our user acquisition channel, and we'll make money differently in the longer run, right? And like that's our way to grow the user base. That's our way to get the power users, etc., right? And until you have all those additional products on which you're either able or not able to generate money, right? Because if you're saying, okay, I have zero fee perps, why then you don't have zero fees options? Why don't you have zero fee spot, right? Why don't you expand that business model to everything if that works? But if you are saying that, okay, I cannot really do zero fees.
No, we will. We absolutely will. That is the business model. That is
so
what
essentially all the products all the trading products that you will
Absolutely.
be offering will have zero fees.
Absolutely. That is
Okay,
the
how
model.
will you make money then as a business?
We still make money but you just make lesser money. And I mean, at the end of the day, you don't even have to think about this too much. The effectively zero fees is just this like label, right? You're still making money from the maker side. But if you think about it, it's just an industry going through fee compression. Fee compression is inevitable. Zero fees is just the name that you give it. But at the end of the day, we still make fees. We just make lesser fees. But that's no different than saying that an industry is maturing, and now you're seeing fee compression. You're seeing, I mean, you're a research analyst, Flip. I'm sure you've seen this or at least you've probably heard of this in other places as well, right? Fee compression is inevitable, right? The argument for keeping the same fees is to saying fee compression will never happen. And that's not realistic.
Yeah, so Paradex, as it stands today, just correct me if I'm wrong, it is making money on the perpetual.
Yeah, absolutely. We charge. Yeah,
just
a
less percentage on notional traded dollars versus someone like an extended who has fees and things like that. And you muted yourself.
I'm saying we're just not charging the taker, but we're charging the maker, and effectively it's just fee compression, right? So,
but isn't that the more sensitive user?
What?
Isn't that the more sensitive user to fees? Like retail, like myself, like I personally don't care too much on fees, but like market makers, they care a lot because that eats into their margin. So like, aren't you taxing the more fee sensitive user?
Yeah, but that point is a really great point. But even to that, there's a counter in that, because you've effectively done two things. If we just charge fees and you didn't curate the flow, then your argument makes sense.
So what are y'all doing to curate flow then? Like, why is it worth? Like, if I'm a market maker, why is it worth me paying for flow that I can go get on extended for free with rebates?
Well, you can get that flow on any other exchange, but that flow basically has high chance of negative EV from being toxic. Because of RPI, you've effectively curated the flow such that that flow is now benign. So I've created value for you, and then I'm taxing you on that value. If I didn't create value for you and I just charge you, then yes, your argument would completely make sense. Then you're fee sensitive, you would widen your spread. But here we're creating value, and then
let's focus on that for a second and go in detail onto that, right? So let's say you're saying, okay, we'll have zero fees, right, close to zero spread, and we'll be charging makers 2 bips, right? Mm-hmm. Now, how the economics for the maker would work, right? Okay, so you're saying, let's say, I don't know, what spread do you want to have? Let's say you have 1 bips of the spread, right, on the exchange. Then you have to pay as a maker 2 bips, right, only for the order, for the cost of execution. Then you need to hedge it, right? You also have the cost of execution.
Why would you pay 2 bips? You're saying 2 bips for fees?
Yeah. How big are your maker fees?
0.2 bips. It's very small.
Okay, let's say that you have 1 bips, right? Then you are paying 0.2 bips as the maker, right? So you have 0.8 bips left. Then you have to hedge somewhere externally, right?
I mean,
and you have the cost of
rest
hedging.
I mean, to be honest, you don't even need to consider all the other costs, right? Because it's effectively in this world or any other world, if I'm taxing you and adding you another, let's say 0.2 bips of fees, you just have to price in this 0.2 bips, right? Because in both worlds, the other
Exactly,
costs
you need to
are
price it in, right? Like,
correct.
so
But
you'll be pricing it in, you'll be
correct.
widening the spread, right?
Correct. But in that spread that you widen, I've also narrowed that spread for you because you now have lesser costs from negative.
Yes, but
Basically,
we also pay the rebate to maker of 1.8 bips, 1.75, right?
yeah,
Which
but
you didn't do.
yeah, but then you're only looking at one side of the argument, which doesn't make sense because now you're saying I have 1 bip to pay from the takers, therefore I'm able to pay here. But my argument is if I charge 0 fees, I get all the takers. So if I get all the takers, you might not have 1 bip to collect from the taker because he's not there anymore. He's gone to an
But
exchange paying 0
you
fees.
don't get all the takers,
I mean
right? You don't get all the
that's your. I
takers.
mean, but that's economically. You're basically saying that like if there's 2 exchanges that have the same product suite, same security, same everything, users on average will choose the exchange that basically charges them fees. And
I
economically,
mean,
that
if you
doesn't
were
make
to
sense.
make that argument, and if you were to expand that argument, all the people globally would live in 0 tax jurisdictions, right?
Yeah, but there's
It's the
physical
same
cost.
analogy, but
Hold
not
on,
all
hold on
the
a minute.
people live in 0 tax
Hold on a
jurisdictions,
minute.
right?
Hold on a minute. Hold on. This is ludicrous. The reason there's physical constraints for why people cannot move from one country to the other. In the online world, those costs are 0. That's
There are
ludicrous.
smaller constraints, but there are still
They're not smaller constraints. They're
constraints.
exponentially smaller constraints. They don't, on a relative basis, they do not exist, right? People can't leave, up from that perspective. Why don't people leave North Korea and go live in India because they see better? Can they
Because
do
they
that?
physically cannot do that, right? But a
Exactly
lot
my
of
point.
people do
Exactly my point.
choose to leave when they can, right? Like,
Yeah, but only
not
when you have
not all of them are
I
optimizing
mean, this
for
is
that.
ludicrous. Like, what are we talking about here? It's like the comparison between, people's sort of like geographic mobility towards like people's like utility function in a DEX that charges fees versus no fees. I mean, that's not even, it's like comparing apples and monkeys.
But let me also give you another example, right? You're essentially saying that like for you to be as successful as us in terms of the business model, you need to be at least 10 times bigger, right? In terms of the size. So you need a 10 times bigger effort
from a revenue
to
standpoint
acquire
to like
all
be,
the
to be
users.
comp on the revenue.
I mean, but in the end, right? Like what we're talking about, in the end, we're all building a successful business, right? Successful business is measured by the revenue flows, which you have by some very objective metrics, right? So in order for you to be at the same level as us, right, you need to be 10 times bigger, right?
Yeah, but that's assuming you still have the users. If those users
But why
leave,
didn't you become 10 times bigger over the past 3 months, right?
because but first of all, that's not even the correct argument, because this is a longer term play. This is not something that just happened overnight and we're comparing. Like you're asking why this model, which is basically you're saying under limit, hasn't worked when we have jointly between the two of us 10,000 daily active users. Like the model that we're debating here
It
is
should
a
also
model at
work on the
equilibrium
smaller
at
scale,
scale.
right?
What?
It should also work on the smaller scale.
But there's other reasons why people are trading. It's not
I think there's a lot of
zero fees. There's points. There's all these other cultural affiliations. Like
Exactly, there are other things
but
which
those will
people
fail,
choose,
right? I mean, excuse me, those will fade, right? Like the points are not going to last forever.
I think
right?
this is something we should dive into, like to like let's once the incentives are off extended, how much volume do you think you guys will retain if you do have fees? Like let's go to the analogy Fiddy was using. If both exchanges have the same liquidity, one has fees, one doesn't, where do users go? And if there's no other incentives there, like no points, they're not anticipating airdrop rebates, those get compressed. Like how much, like where do you see the users going? Ruslan.
I mean, one, I think it's wrong to assume that all the exchanges will have the same product, right? It's wrong to assume that all the exchanges will have the same liquidity. It's wrong to assume that all the exchanges will have the same go-to-market, right? It's just fundamentally will never happen. right? And
But do
essentially,
you agree? But do you agree? It's like at the end of the day, exchanges or at least trading is a commodity, right? Like you agree
um,
with that?
look, I would say that order matching is a commodity, right? All the product which you build on top of that can be either a commodity or can be not a commodity, depending on how you build it and how you
Okay.
approach it.
Okay. So then using your argument, right? Just using your argument, if I compete with you on the one vector which is a commodity, and I say I'm charging zero fees, I get all the users, and then I offer these other products that you're talking about. Which exchange is going to win?
Because again, you're assuming that we'll have exactly the same products, that will have exactly the same distribution channels, and we'll have exactly the same liquidity. But this is not going to happen, right? And also, you're assuming that
I just think that that argument is like
like
not very strong, right? Because you're basically
it
saying
is
that
very
like
strong.
I don't have pushback on the economic kind of reasoning for the argument. Why? Because I know I will build a better product and I'll be able to keep users. Like, okay, fine, you that's an argument, but like I just don't think that's like it's I mean I'm pushing for a kind of like economic reasoning here, right? Like I agree with you that I mean I'm not saying that I'm not going to try and build a product that doesn't differentiate. Like I'm saying yes, I'm assuming that I'm also going to be doing all the things you're going to be doing, right? So
Yes, look, what I'm saying is
one
that
second.
that advantage of zero fees, okay,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
that advantage of zero fees will not make you 10x bigger than us, even in the longer run, even assuming that you have a comparable product, right? And if you don't become 10x bigger than us, right, you will always be less successful in terms of the business and in terms of the business model, right? Because if you were to take that argument, like, sorry, yes, he wants to say something.
No. I just disagree with you. I mean, I don't think that's a strong enough argument.
I think we'll keep running in circles here, and I think you both make some great points on what. Obviously, I mean, what's great is like we operate in open markets, and the market will ultimately decide. Users will decide, and that's how we'll figure out who wins. But I kind of want to go back to the question I posed to you, Ruslan. Is like incentives are in place on all these perp dexes or most of these perp dexes. So how do you plan on retaining users once points are gone and things like that?
I mean, the answer to that is super simple, right? One is you need to build the product that people love using genuinely, right? And that boils down to many things, right? One, like it's the breadth of your product portfolio, the stability of the product, the liquidity on the product, right? The efficiency of execution, etc., right? That's one. The second thing boils down to whether you will be able to acquire users whom no one else is able to acquire, right? Like we have our own strategy there on how we'll go after retail, after pure retail, which I was referring to in the first part of our discussion, right? And I don't think I can share yet more details about that, but basically that's the market that we've been historically working in and that we understand quite well, right? In terms of how does the go-to-market work there,
I
etc.
think those 2 points are kind of like basically what's the crux of your argument, right? Which I completely disagree with both, which is, but it is an argument, which is like, hey, I'm going after users that don't care about fees, and B, I know how to better acquire and retain users than you, and that those are both like
I think
kind of
we're
like
over the
subjectively.
fees argument. I think
No.
we're
I'm
over
I'm
the fees
summarizing
argument.
what I think you're saying, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to summarize the crux of your argument, which is like, hey, I'm going after retail users that don't care about fees, which I'm saying no. These power users, I'm going after a set of users that do care about fees, and B, you're saying I have a better strategy to offer all these other products and retain users, and then somehow that is going to be differentiated enough for a product that is a commodity, right? So that's the part I don't understand, is like, how can you both say that the product is commoditized, but then also have a sufficiently differentiated
I
strategy?
think the question was not about comparing extended to Paradex in this sense, and why we'll be able to better acquire users and be able
No,
to
but it's like
build
fee
a more
exchanges versus
sustainable business
but you're
business
saying it's
model
fee
in the
exchanges
longer run,
versus
right?
you're saying fee exchanges versus no fee exchanges. I'm not saying it's extended in particular, right? This is a generalization. I mean, the whole debate is like a generalization, right? It isn't about one exchange or the other. So That's the part I don't really get. It's just like if the product is a commodity. A commoditized product or commodified products tend to compete on cost, right?
That's
Not
a
on
problem.
differentiation.
I think that's one thing which you're like, okay, do you believe, let's say, Revolut or Robinhood are a commodity?
Yeah.
But they are not, right? They are
Yeah,
not a
there's
commodity.
zero
Are you saying
commission
are you
brokerage.
saying
Commodity.
the infrastructure is a commodity or the products are commodity? Like, I mean, kind of
Infrastructure is
they
the
go hand in.
commodity, yes.
Yeah,
Infrastructure is
infrastructure
the
is the
commodity,
commodity.
but
I
the
mean, they're
user-facing
both
product
zero
is not a
commission.
commodity.
They're both zero commission brokerages. There's
They are
tons of
not.
other zero commission
They are
brokerages
not.
out there.
I mean, Revolut is by far not a zero fee exchange or product,
I'm not
right?
talking about Revolut. I'm talking about Robinhood in particular, right? If
And whom
they're
else?
commission, I'm talking about Robinhood, at least in the US, from my experience. If you compare them with, okay, they have a better experience to trade, et cetera, et cetera. It's simplified. It's slightly gamified here and there. But on the whole, you compare them to Charles Schwab or TD Ameritrade. The product itself and that industry all tends to basically homogenize around what the end product is. Hence the word commoditization or commodification of the product, right? So yes, I absolutely believe trading, at least in their case, and in our case too, is a commodity. And commoditized products tend to compete on cost.
Look, trading infrastructure is a commodity, right? But the user-facing product is not a commodity, right? Your go-to-market strategy is not a commodity. And again, I'm not saying that we'll be able to do it better than you or better than the rest of the competition. What I'm saying is that all of us will do it differently, right? And that the products, the
but
user-facing
differently,
product will differentiate, right?
But how
And
much
then,
differently can you do it in a industry that is commoditized?
oh, a lot, you can do a lot, right? Like you can do a lot because essentially, right, like the user-facing product and the way you reach that user can be super different, right? Like I can give you a very simple example,
Yeah,
even
but
from our
even if you
industry.
do, I can just copy you. Hence the term commoditization. And then it's
If
then you don't have
I
a
mean, if
competitive
you will
advantage,
be,
right?
no, if you just copy me, right, you will not have a first mover advantage, right?
Yeah, but first mover advantage is also, by the way, if anything, Peter Thiel has also talked about, third and fourth and last mover advantages. The person that moves last is the best equipped to kind of basically take down the leader because they have the benefit of learning. And in our business, things get copied like that overnight.
I mean, if that argument was correct, right, both Robinhood and Revolut would have already lost their business to someone else.
I mean, they didn't lose their business to someone else, but there's sufficient fragmentation in that space such that Robinhood doesn't have 100% market share. That's
They
the point
don't
I'm
have
trying
a
to make.
market. They don't have 100% market share, but no one was able to copy them successfully enough to become bigger than them, right? That's why, in the end,
No, but
right,
that's not
the
the argument,
actual
right? Hold on. That's not the argument. If Robinhood had gone zero fees and then nobody else would have gone zero fees, then Robinhood would have 100% market share. Robinhood going zero fees forced the other brokerages, which are also commodities, to go zero fees, and they were able to retain their customers because they did that. So
yes, but Robinhood is able to grow at a faster pace than they are. They're acquiring more users, etc., right? And they are doing so because the product, the user-facing product that they're offering is not a real, like it's not a commodity. It's not about being able to match an order at the zero fees, right? It's much more than that,
I
right?
think
And
Lindy
what I'm
effects really
saying,
starting to kick in there too. I mean, Lindy effects really kick in there too for Robinhood. Like they've been
and
around, they built a great product, like the infrastructure product, the trading, like UI. And now they've got gold, they've got other products that you can subscribe to. That is very
you
much
also have to keep in mind, right? Like in the US, basically, like the rate of basically like copycats coming into the market in crypto that is unconstrained by regulation, unconstrained by regulatory licenses, etc., is far like higher. So like if a one project does something, there's going to be 10 other projects, and that project creates value. There's going to be 100 other projects. I mean, you've seen this in Perp Dexes, right? You have one successful Perp Dex, you see 500 other Perp Dexes spin up. So I think yes, you can do it differently, but your ability to kind of, unless you scale to some crazy 100 billion a day where you have such deep network effects, then I agree with you. Then network effects become the reason why you cannot get disrupted. But if you're saying that you do something slightly differently, and then let's say 6 months later somebody copies you, somehow you'll be able to retain your competitive advantage. And I just don't think that's true. That's kind of naive, in fact.
I mean, basically what you are saying is that both the product differentiation and then the user acquisition differentiation doesn't matter at all.
No,
That's
no, no.
basically
I'm
the
saying
argument to which
I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. I'm saying it's very easily copied in our space because our product that we're offering is a commoditized product. In a commoditized product, it becomes very difficult to compete sustainably long term based on some differentiator because it can just be copied very easily. Hence the term commoditized.
I think that's the part where like I kind of disagree with you, right? I think that there will always be the place for the product differentiation. There will always be the place for the differentiation in the way you acquire users, right? And maybe it can be copied to an extent, right? But like one, you can continue innovating, right? And if you're always copying someone else, right, you're always in the worst spot. And secondly, there will always be a user, like a first mover advantage if you do something differently from the rest, right? Because just people get used to some things, right?
I mean, even in that case, I would argue that if an exchange goes zero fees, is able to basically attract all the users, and then let's say exchange B has a differentiated strategy, exchange A can just copy that strategy and keep the zero fees and copy the strategy. So it's still
essentially your argument boils down to the fact that you think that with the zero fees, you will be able to become at least 10 times bigger than everyone else, right?
For price sensitive users, yes.
And that's the point I disagree with, right? One, I think that there are a lot of non-price sensitive users, again, whose absolute metrics in terms of the volume, TVA, the open interest might not be as impressive, but you actually don't even need them to be that impressive because you will be able to make much more money, right, on the volume that is 10 times smaller, right, on the open interest that is like on the TVA that is 10 times smaller, etc. And I think that I think essentially the Perp Dexes should be trying to acquire those users, right, because those users, they are just super high margin users, right, who are price insensitive. There will always be a continuous flow of that users. And fundamentally, that market is huge, right? And that's fine, like if you don't want to focus on those users, right? That's just part of it. Again, that's a differentiation in terms of this go-to-market strategy. You're saying, okay, I will focus on the top 20% of users, like I don't know, which generate most of the volume on Binance, Bybit, other centralized exchanges, right? I will be making 10 times less money than the existing products, but I will be able to acquire those users. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Like
that's basically
right?
the crux of the argument. You're basically saying that like I'm going after users that like there's some other sphere of users that don't exist on Bybit, Binance, etc.
They also exist on Binance, Bybit,
and
right?
I'm going after those users. Okay, maybe
on
that's
Binance,
true. I have no clue, but from what I can see, or at least my experience of dealing with like any sort of marketplace where users are basically like, whether that's a casino, whether that's an exchange, the distribution is the distribution I'm talking about, right? So unless that distribution has changed in the last, I don't know, 6 to 12 months, which I'm not, and I didn't know about it, then okay, maybe your argument stands. But I just don't see, I'm happy to be corrected here, but again, I just don't see that happening in the near future.
Look, if you take that, like let's say if we take large centralized exchange with 100 million users in total, right? Let's say that, I don't know, even less than 1% of those users will be the users you are talking about, right? Yes, those users will be price sensitive, etc., etc. But I'm saying that if you're able to acquire the rest of the users, right, who are basically an uneducated data flow, right, to bring in the top 1% of the users as well, right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
yeah, I kind of want to. I think we can keep running circles here, so I kind of want to jump back to the original question I had for Ruslan. Is like, once incentives gone, how do you retain users? And in that, obviously, the derivative of that is how do you keep spreads tight when incentives fade? Like, how do you keep spreads tight on the platform to keep a really great product for your users to use? Because right now there's a ton of incentives just flowing right now on all exchange, or most Perp Dexes at least. Because I know there's probably a lot of extended users listening right now, and they want to know how's the product going to stay great after TGE type of thing.
Yes, look, the answer to that is pretty simple, right? Like, one, you need to build the product that people love, right? And that entails a lot of different things, right? One, it's basically dependent on your product strategy. Our product strategy is super clear, right? We're essentially building around the unified margin, right? So essentially,
but that's not sufficiently differentiated enough, right? I mean, every other exchange is going to have the same product that you said you're building. We're going to have the same thing. Hyperliquid will probably have the same thing. Lighter is going to do the same thing. So how is that differentiated enough?
On the unified margin front?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking on the unified margin?
Yes.
So one, like, it depends on the speed to market, right? Like how quickly everyone will be able to introduce those products. I know that we are quite close to the unified margin across spot, perps, vault shares, and the integrated lending market. So I'm quite confident we'll be able to deliver it relatively fast compared to the competition, right? That's one part. And then, like, if you are able to deliver it faster than the competition, right, you will also be able to work on the new features faster than the competition. Obviously, like, there is a lot of details, right, in terms of various architecture choices, which either enable you or not enable you to build faster. We believe that we built it in the most optimal way that will allow us to quickly expand the product. I'm sure you believe the same, and I hope we both are correct, right? The second thing is, again, it boils down to the distribution, right? Whether you're able to attract new users, right? Users who are less sensitive to the incentives, right? Who are less sensitive to the points, potentially less sensitive to the fees, right? Lastly, it again boils down on what brand image you build, right? Like whether people just like your brand, because not all the things, I think not like the world is much more complex than just being purely driven by an economic sentiment, right? Obviously, it's one of the major drivers, right? But there are much more things which you need to take into account.
So your go-to-market is essentially, like in a nutshell, is, hey, we've got all these users and liquidity right now. Let's continue to ship at an incredibly fast pace, iterate, add products people like. Let's make sure the platform is really sticky. They're sticky after TGE. The users are going to stay. Is that kind of like the nutshell? Like build a killer product while you have the users.
Yes, and start acquiring new types of users, right? Start acquiring new types of users whom other perp dexes are not yet focusing on. They are not yet trying to reach them out, right?
Yeah. And so what might be some of those users? For those type of people?
I mean, like, for those users are pure like retail users for which you require a very different go-to-market, a very different product as well. You need a native mobile application, you need an embedded wallet creation, you need native on and off ramps, right? As well as you need a different distribution strategy, right?
Yeah, but all dexes are going to have this thing, right? You're not saying something that's like,
I mean, you just said that you just basically before that you said that you will be focusing on the top 20% of the power users, right?
Yeah, but the features that you're talking about are basic features of any exchange. Unified margin, on and off ramps, this is all table stakes. Like,
none of them exist. None of them exist yet among
we're building them. We're building them.
Yes,
I know
but none of them exist as of today, right?
Yeah, but they will be because they don't exist for you either today, right? But they will exist for all of these 5 or 6 exchanges in the next 6 months. So at that point, how are you able to differentiate?
I think that you are basically saying that, look, we'll do everything to the same level of quality than everyone else. And then the only way that we'll differentiate from everyone else is that we'll have zero fees. You're basically
which to be fair, I do think that's probably a pretty good I think that is probably a pretty good distribution strategy, because I do think there are many users who use Perp Dexes today who do enjoy zero fees, and like seeing how many dollars they saved. Like, yes, I might be less sensitive to fees than a market maker, but I still care seeing like, hey, out of the dollars I've traded on X platform, I've saved 10 grand in the last 12 months trading perps. Like, I do think there are people who care about that. I'm sure there are extended users who care about that.
But Fiddy, the next thing you will do, you will start paying negative fees to start competing with lighter, right?
I mean, it's. I think this is a bit tough of an argument for me to swallow, because like the whole argument is we will build table stakes we will build features that are table stakes for any exchange, and somehow we will do it faster than a few months than everybody else. Then everybody else will catch up, and somehow we will still be able to retain our differentiated, this differentiation. Which to me, I'm like, that's kind of a weak argument, right? You compare the
the
flip
only
side.
thing you're adding is you are saying, okay, we'll do everything, all the rest will do it at exactly the same quality, with exactly same timelines. Everything will be so uniform in this world, right? That basically
It won't be in the first 2 months, but in the next year. I'm not advocating for a business model that's only going to last for 2 or 3 months. The zero fees is not zero fees like just headline zero fees. It is basic. The first principle here is that retail should pay lower, because retail has because they have no toxicity.
Who is retail?
And not
Anybody
just
that
low.
anybody that does not have negative markouts when they're trading. Anybody that does not have negative markouts when they're trading, right? That does not affect the quality of liquidity in that pool. Those users should always pay zero fees. And sometimes, to your point, they should get rebates when everybody else that is toxic should be paying fees. I think somebody else has talked about, introducing toxicity-based fees. I think that's the crux of this whole argument, is that the zero fee exchanges are basically saying that the volume-based fee discount model for exchanges is the wrong one. You should be charging based on toxicity. And that's the whole reason why we're even able to offer zero fees to people, is that's us basically saying, you're non-toxic, you should pay less than people that are toxic, that are API traders, so they should pay more, right?
I think
so
one
it is kind of flipping the model on its head, and that's kind of a fundamentally new thing in this market that does not exist, that I think has a better shot to compete long-term, right? Post-TGE, post-points, post-everything else, because at that point, that's sufficiently differentiated, and users can say, fine, I'm if I can get the same spread here and I pay lower, I'm going to trade here, and I have the same other.
I hear you correctly. The end, the only long-term differentiation that you envision for yourself is zero fees.
No,
well, I think the next iteration of this is
just reducing the complexity of this argument into some headline narrative. That's not what I'm saying, right? What I'm saying is, go ahead.
I think the next iteration of this whole, you guys still have time to go. I know we're over the hour.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, go ahead.
1 sec.
Push it back 10 minutes, Ruslan. Come on, you can push them back.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what I need to push. Yeah, I'm good. I have another 12 minutes, literally. Apologies.
Okay, cool, good. We're going to utilize that 12 minutes. I think the next iteration of zero fees is like in this argument is builder codes, and builder codes are a huge distribution mechanism because that's how you get into wallets and things like that. So like I think the question here is like if you've got all these perp dexes, or the 5 or 6 that survive the next 12 months. All of those will have builder codes, and they're all going to be going after the same wallets. Everyone wants to get into Phantom, MetaMask, and things like this. How do you differentiate? How do you incentivize those builders, those wallets, to integrate your builder codes versus someone else's? Especially if there's zero fees, because like all of a sudden you've got zero. Like all of a sudden that wallet can make more. They can change.
You guys at Paradex have builders code? I just don't remember. Sorry.
Not live. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We're not live, but it should be live in the next, very soon, very, very soon. People are already building. In fact, there are builders that are already live, but we just haven't turned it on yet. But yes, it is coming. Dropping some alpha here on the stream.
Yeah. But
we just launched our builders. We just launched our builders code. I think it was actually already, like month and a half ago, but we announced it just 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah, and what's the question about the builder code? Sorry.
Builder codes with zero fees. So like all of a sudden, if you go to Phantom, like I know we're not like putting you two against each other because that's not what we're doing here. But it's like if Extended and Paradex both go to Phantom with builder codes, like one has
Ruslan, the only person winning here is Trevor. Just FYI, right? Trevor's the guy who's like getting the most out of this.
Exactly.
It's tons of alpha.
Maybe we should ask him some questions.
Yeah, maybe it's time to fucking turn the screws on you.
No, I'm just asking because like if I'm Phantom, like if I'm sitting in Phantom seat and I can use builder codes on Extended Hyperliquid Paradex, I probably will go like, yes, the retail user might be the least fee sensitive, but someone like Phantom, they're going to care about that a lot, the fees, because that's going to that affects their margins a lot. So how do you think about that, Ruslan and Fiddy? Like, how do you guys think about this?
I mean, it's pretty simple in my case, right? If there's, if the retail customer, if the customer can spend $10, right? And he's got the $10 pie for fees. And the builder has now said, oh, off this $10, $5 is a fixed cost that you need to pay to the exchange, right? And then you build on top of that. So that means the builder now has to say, shit, now I'm like competing for this. Basically, it puts the exchange and the builder in kind of like an adversarial position, right? Because if we're both competing for the same pie, then that doesn't really work, because and it also puts me in a kind of like an adversarial relationship with the builder. It's not aligned. You flip that on its head and you say, hey, I'm an exchange, I charge 0 fees because I actually make from the maker side, and I'm actually creating value for the maker, so I don't really need to charge the taker. Build on top of me, and then whatever you want to charge, rebate me back a percentage of that. Now that is a much more aligned business model than anyone else, because
similar like
Roblox.
Saying,
yeah, it's like the App Store, Roblox, right? It's basically saying it doesn't allow the exchange to dictate to the builder what their fees should be, or what the minimum hurdle rate should be for people to get over. And that I think is a very powerful distribution advantage, right? Versus anyone else.
Look, with the builder codes on our side, right? I would say that one will be quite flexible to the needs of the end partners, right? Secondly, is that we've just launched it and we're still experimenting, right? We are still experimenting and seeing what people are interested in. How do they think about their own monetization, right? Like, how do they think about reaching out users? So essentially for the builder codes, I would say that if we have that discussion in 3 to 4 months from now, right? Once we talk to more builders, I think we'll have a more clear view, right? On what most of the partners care about, how do they think about it, et cetera, right?
Would you guys be able to offer them 0 fees? Like, let's say in 6 months, most of them come back and say, hey, fees are too high, we want 0. Like, could you do that? Would you do that?
Look, we would not do a business on which we are not making money, right? So we would only do a business that is beneficial to the exchange. And there are quite a lot of ways how you can do it, right? There are quite a lot of ways how you can do it. So that's the point where I'm saying that we'll remain quite flexible depending on the partner needs, right? Depending on the success which we believe the partner might have, right? And we'll be basing our decision of that, right? So we are not really like, with the builder codes, I would say that it's just too early yet to have one single solution for everyone that fits all the needs, right?
So it's a little bit more, you're going to have to curate it a little bit more builder by builder. It's not going to be like a generic, here are builder codes, go build. It's like, hey, have a conversation.
I mean, there will be generic builder codes. Go, if you don't want to interact with us, right, go and use the existing product. If you do want to interact with us, maybe there can be some conjoint marketing campaigns. There can be something interesting, right? So we would be taking effectively a very custom approach there.
Okay, that's good. And so, we're way over time, so I'm going to begin to wrap it now. I think that was an incredible debate. I hope everyone else enjoyed it, and in the chats and whatnot. We didn't get to any of the chat questions, but I think that's fine. We'll do this again at some point, but just want to close this out. Ruslan, do you have any closing thoughts? Alpha, extended, when's TGE, things like that?
Look, one thought which I have is that there are much more important topics which we haven't discussed, right? Such as
part
the
2 in a
logic,
week.
the liquidation logic, right? Like the flow curation, etc., etc. So we definitely need to meet again, right? I really enjoyed
part 2 next week.
And I think that's really nice to hear some different opinions. Exactly.
Yeah, round two next week. That's good. Fiddy, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, man. Look, I think fundamentally this 0 fee model gets a bad rap because it's catchy, but it also kind of like there's downsides to that, because once you say 0 fees, people automatically assume there's 0 fees and you don't make any revenue. 0 fees does not mean 0 revenue, right? I think that's the first thing. Secondly, it's like what 0 fees has done is really it's changed the model, the business model for exchanges on it's basically put it on its head, by saying that, like, hey, your fees should not be proportionate to your volume. They should be proportionate, or basically they should be relative to how much toxicity you're bringing to that pool of liquidity, right? Now that's a fundamentally new way of thinking, right? Robinhood had that was like the Web 2 way, where they kind of did it in this small box, and flow curation there is kind of like very permission. But in DeFi, there is no kind of, I can't permission flow, because it's basically it's permissionless, right? So therefore I have to come up, or at least exchanges like us have to come up with a business model that is basically enshrined either within the technology itself, and that's where the zero fees thing sort of like comes from, right? So I think that is something people are not seeing, and as soon as people sort of like see that like, hey, fundamentally this is a new way of thinking, and this is offering retail users a fundamentally better way to trade longer term, I think this is a very powerful thing that is that is sustainable kind of over the long term, right? So that's number one. And then the other kind of like the reasons for it is, one is it's great for builders, right? Which is very, very easy for people to understand. I just don't have to pay X or Y fees. And then the last thing I will say is just like, I think at the end of the day, no matter what we do, this is such a competitive space that like if one project does something that is really good, very easily it will be copied by other people. So I don't think you have the benefit of some entrenched differentiated strategy for too long before it gets sort of like eaten up, because this space is hyper competitive, right? You have to basically have empathy towards this fact. So that's the last thing I would say, at least for my closing arguments.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure Ruslan wants to go back and forth, but I'll cut that there. I'm actually getting a ton of questions, or I've seen a few questions in the chat.
I will drop some alpha. One quick thing, I'll drop some alpha.
Oh, yeah.
For all Paradex users, check your wallets on Monday.
Oh,
stop.
Alpha. What are we checking for?
Wait and find out, man.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys. Ruslan, pleasure. Fiddy, was a pleasure, and we'll talk soon. Hope everyone enjoyed
thank you, Ruslan.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate being good sport. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Thank you,
fun. That was fun.
It was a great discussion.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
round two.
moderating. I know you guys took time out. I know you're traveling as well, guys. So thank you again. I do appreciate this.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
a lot. Appreciate
Thank
it as
you,
well.
guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.